The real reason that Clarisonic is going out of business. Clarisonic recently announced that in September they will be discontinuing their product lines, meaning their brushes, their brush heads, and their chargers. And a lot of people didn't care. Some people were a little bit upset, but this was also very interesting because around 10 years ago, Clarisonic was talking about how they pioneered an industry. You know, they got people from washing their faces with just soap, water, and washcloths to using these luxury brush heads. On top of the scrubbing, they also launched facial lifting techniques devices. They also launched makeup brushes. However, they really struggled to innovate. A lot of people are saying that it's because of COVID that they are being shut down, that they can't earn money, but that's not the entire truth. There are some very interesting business reasons as to why I believe Clarisonic is going under, and I think those are important to discuss when it comes to how we as consumers both consume cosmetics and tools and how we actually influence an industry. There is the idea that these brush heads are stripping or over-exfoliating. And exfoliation is something that your skin does naturally. It's called desquamation, but you can also do this a couple times a week. I like to use acids for this, but some people have tried to use mechanical exfoliants such as these brushes. Now, understandably, if you're using this to remove your makeup every single day, this could be over-exfoliating or over-exfoliation. This could cause irritation and damage to the skin and leave you worse off. I do believe that some people were experiencing this, but I don't believe that that's the only reason that they're going under. You see, Clarisonic has refused to innovate, in my opinion. Both of these were sent to me over the past couple years, but Clarisonic is not a cruelty-free line. I've emailed them multiple times and said, please take me off your PR list because I'm not interested in reviewing these anymore. I don't personally use them. There are very few circumstances in which I would, and for $200 to $400 for one of these devices, I just didn't see the value in them the way I did when I was 17 and under the consumer illusion of what marketing companies were selling me. Yet at the same time, they continued to send brushes and gadgets and devices that I would just give away to friends and family or donate. And that also shows a potential lack of looking at where your finances are going. You see, every single time a brand sends these out, it's a $400 device, right? But they're sending it out thinking someone who talks about them or shares them or recommends them to a friend is going to give them more business overall. But if you're not monitoring how many units are going out versus what's being shared on social media, what the consumer perception of that is, for example, is it positive or negative, you're not going to be able to gauge how much revenue is coming back in. I also think that the consumer perception of these devices has had a huge role in this. You see, it's not as easy as yes, they're helpful or no, they're harmful. It really is a case-by-case basis, but the general consumer perspective of them right now is that they are too stripping or they are overused. And again, if you use them every day, they are too stripping or they are overused. Based on this that is being spoken about in the skincare industry or across industries in general, people stop purchasing these. And even that small downtick can accumulate over years. And if we look at Clarisonic's sales, again, it wasn't just coronavirus in 2020 that's putting them under. They've been seeing a decrease in sales year after year. It's kind of like parabens. A lot of consumers are afraid of parabens right now, and so companies are taking them out of their cosmetics and saying we're paraben free or we're silicone free. And I'll be totally transparent as always. I was afraid of parabens and silicones before I understood them and looked at the science. It's true that humans fear what they don't understand. And 10 years ago, when I was a basic esthetician before I studied science, chemistry, and medicine, I didn't understand parabens or how to read meta-analyses or Cochrane studies showing what parabens actually do and whether or not they're endocrine disruptors and what this all means for us. And based on that consumer perception or that consumer fear, it greatly impacts how many units of a product is sold. So every single time you think, oh, I'm just a consumer, I don't have power, you have a lot of power in your pocket and in your voice. And that's why when we ask companies to step up or shut up, or when we ask them to do better, if enough of us speak up, they start to listen because it impacts their bottom line. That's the other thing with Clarisonic. Their bottom line is quite interesting because they're an expensive device, and anything that is made well or anything that's gathering interest in a market is bound to get ripped off, copyright infringed upon, and remade. And for Clarisonic, there were a lot of these other brush heads such as Vanity Planet or even these ones coming out of China that, while not the same caliber, they were very, very similar. And if you could buy one of those for $40 instead of one of these for $400, and it does the exact same thing, you really don't have a value proposition. You're not giving me anything extra for $400 that I couldn't get with $40. So why am I gonna go for this? The only reason would literally be the brand name. And Clarisonic couldn't keep up with that because they didn't innovate. You see, they tried with this thing and then they tried to get you to put on makeup with one of these brushes. But you see, just from a user experience perspective, putting makeup on with cosmetics and taking makeup off through skincare, those are very different experiences. And just in your brain, using one tool for both of those doesn't seem the most intuitive. They seem like opposites. And I think that even that user experience and the psychology of how we consume products had a huge impact on these makeup brushes not really working. Not to mention it didn't work very well. It was more time consuming than just using a beauty blender or a regular brush, and people didn't want to do it. Also, let's be honest, their skincare products sucked. They were not very good, they didn't feel that great on the skin, and they were just overpriced base formulas. A lot of other companies have been innovating. You've been seeing different LED lights or different devices that combine multiple things in one. And the fact that Clarisonic was trying to sell you 2 different brushes, or you had to adjust these brush heads and pay for these brush heads they recommended every month to every 3 months, it was just too expensive of a habit based on the lack of results that people were seeing. This lack of innovation also didn't match up with L'Oreal. You see, L'Oreal is a parent company that owns different brands, including Clarisonic. Kind of like a parent can have children, a parent company has skincare babies, but instead of birthing them, they usually acquire them by means of finances. L'Oreal, agree with them or disagree with them, has a name in the industry, and they're known as innovators. They are on the front lines of a lot of cutting-edge technology. They have a lot of scientists and a lot of money where they're putting forward research to look at patents, such as the C&E ferulic blend that Drunk Elephant ripped off. And even though some of the L'Oreal subsidiary brands still test on animals, they are working at the forefronts to try to find alternatives to animal testing. And you see, while L'Oreal is so innovative, Clarisonic just wasn't holding up to that. L'Oreal made a statement that this brand is no longer aligned with the parent company, but I really think that it's just the fact that they can't innovate, people aren't interested, and the money just isn't flowing. It is convenient for them to blame this on coronavirus. We've seen disruptions in supply chains. For instance, if a lot of these products are coming from China and you now don't have access to those companies, it's going to be hard to produce, but I honestly don't think that's the problem, especially considering the way these are made, the component that they have available, and the supply chains that they have formed. It is very interesting, and it's no doubt that 10 years ago, Clarisonic did kind of pioneer an industry in getting people to use at-home devices for their skin. However, they just weren't keeping up. And sometimes that happens. You can create a halfway decent product that's just too early to the market. Look at some of these VR headsets. There was so much money and venture capital funding put into these, thinking that they're going to change the industry, and people just didn't jump on them. Same with Google Glasses. They thought it was this amazing thing, and then people were like, actually, I don't want to be recorded in public. That's not super cool with me. What this really means for you is that if you currently have a Clarisonic, ask yourself if you're still using it. If you are, sure, you can stock up on brush heads, but you might also want to switch to a different brand. What this means for most of us who aren't using these overpriced pieces of plastic with electronics shoved inside of them is that we have a lot more power over these brands than we realize. We have power as consumers, and even industry trends and marketing trends have power over how we think about these things or how we purchase these things and incorporate them into our lifestyles. That's why I always tell you to turn and learn your ingredients list and learn about the products that you're using, buying, and promoting. Because I think as consumers, we don't know how powerful we are, and the products that we're purchasing, the companies that we're supporting today, are going to be the ones leading us into tomorrow. And it's up to us to purchase products that actually, provide value to us, that match our needs and our morals and values. So what do you think of this? Did you love Clarisonic like me when they first came out? Did you learn that they're a bit of bullshit later on? What has your experience been like, or is this the first time you're hearing about them? Overall, I think it's a very interesting lesson in beauty business, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Turn that like button as blue as my shirt, and if you want a little bit more information on beauty business, we've done another video right here. Always remember to be beautiful inside and out, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video. Love you guys. Bye.